What is up? And welcome to DLF Weekly. We are right after the draft, fresh in our minds. We're thinking about these rookies. Everybody's excited. Rookie fever is going haywire everywhere. Twitter is ablaze. And I think we forgot something really important that I'll start off by talking to you, Tyler. Aaron Rodgers just casually dropped that, you know what, I kind of like this game show host thing, and I don't know that I want to be an MVP quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. I don't know that we spent a lot of time to digest that. You've had some time to digest that. You've got some opinions and thoughts. What are you thinking about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers?
I mean, I have a lot of opinions. I think that he doesn't want to play there. He doesn't want to play there. He wants to play somewhere else. He's tired of them not giving him any weapons. He was mad that they cut Jake Kumaro without telling him. They drafted Jordan Love without telling him. And wouldn't you be mad if you were working somewhere and they hired your replacement without telling you, but wanted you to work there anyway, after hiring your replacement without telling you for an amount of time that worked for them, whatever worked for them. And then when they were done with you, then they would just move on. Then they could move on from you at any time. How would that make you feel? How would that make you feel?
No, it wouldn't be good. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of us, we can, when you put it like that, we can relate to it a little bit and think about how, like sometimes we just think of these guys as football robots, and then you forget that they actually are people. There's some complications that come up. And, we've seen some situations like this before. In fact, we've seen it in Green Bay with another Hall of Fame quarterback in Brett Favre, and he forced his way out. So, ultimately, I guess, are we looking at a situation where would you say it's likely that Aaron Rodgers is the Green Bay Packer quarterback, or likely that he is the quarterback of somebody else, or that he's just out of the league? Which way are you leaning at this point?
It's most likely he's going to be the quarterback of someone else. Someone else. When Green Bay realizes that he's serious, when he does not come, he will not come to training camp. He will not show up. Then we start to get maybe to the preseason. He's saying, I'm not coming in. You can go words we could use, but imagine what I would say that he's saying. He's not going to come. And then they're going to realize that, what are we going to do? We might as well trade him now, because the price, he's 37 years old. The price on him is only going to go down over time. And the Denver Broncos must pick up the phone now. They need to call now. Because after June 1st, if a trade is done, it only counts for $18 million against the Packers salary cap this year, with the remainder counting in 2022. So they could feasibly execute a trade after June 1st. But as we saw earlier with the Matthew Stafford trade, that trade was agreed to over 2 months, about 2 months in advance of when it could actually be completed. So the Denver Broncos should call now. Don't wait. You have Drew Lock. Drew Lock is unacceptable. He's terrible. Teddy Bridgewater is barely passable. So they should call now. And then if they do that, I would give up all of my first round picks, all of them, 2022, 2023, 2024, and maybe an additional player, whatever it takes to get the Hall of Fame quarterback, because I think that Denver is actually a very good team. They have receiving weapons. They just drafted Javonte Williams, a good running back, to complement Melvin Gordon. They have a good tight end in Noah Fant. The defense is pretty good. They have receiving weapons. They have a good defense. They have everything that they need, except they don't have the quarterback. So I think that it's more likely that you see Aaron Rodgers playing snaps for the Denver Broncos than it is that he's playing snaps for the Green Bay Packers. I take him seriously. When he says he's not coming back, I take it seriously. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. We know that Aaron Rodgers is a vindictive person. The announcement of him not coming back came out on the day of the draft. He could have released that information. It could have come out at any other time, but it just happened to come out on that day. That is not a coincidence. It came out on that day because that was when the most people would be paying attention. And it was the 1-year anniversary of them drafting Jordan Love. That's why it came out on that day. So he's not happy with the Green Bay Packers. He's not coming back. Why not take him seriously? So if you have Davante Adams, you should be very scared. You should be scared because you could have Jordan Love. Do you want your 28-year-old wide receiver in Dynasty to have Jordan Love for the foreseeable future? I don't. So that's something to be very concerned about. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, but
there's a lot. So let's break it down because, I think there's also this other side of it. Like, I almost feel like if he became the quarterback of the Denver Broncos from a dynasty perspective, we would like that. It's almost like, we'd probably look at that as maybe even an upgrade in terms of the weapons, that he's got now. I think if we look at the other side of the coin, though, the downside is that what the GM said is that, hey, we appreciate what Aaron is saying, but we're going to ultimately force his hand and make him decide whether he wants to be a quarterback in the NFL or a game show host.
Well, in that case, then the GM will no longer be the GM of the Green Bay Packers because that's an incompetent way to run an NFL franchise. You don't just let assets disappear. You don't do that. You could, in exchange, receive all first-round picks from the Denver Broncos and possibly more on top of that. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you just let Aaron Rodgers retire? Just for what reason? What reason? What good does that do you? You're not going to repair the rift with Aaron Rodgers because the GM is the problem. The GM himself is the problem. So he's not going to repair the rift with Aaron Rodgers at this point. It's too late. It's been going on for over a year. So he should trade Aaron Rodgers now because the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get. Why would it get better? It only sounds like it's going to get worse. The closer you get to the season, teams are going to lower their offers because they're going to see that the Green Bay is over a barrel, that they have no leverage in this situation. Some people say Green Bay has leverage. What leverage do they have? What leverage? Aaron Rodgers is 37 years old. He's already won a title. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He already just won an MVP. What leverage do they have? What exactly what leverage? He can just say, no, I'm 37. I don't have to play football anymore. I don't need you. Goodbye. And then what? Yeah. What do? Nothing. They do nothing. They start Jordan Love and they have nothing to show for it. So they have no leverage. So I think they will realize what I'm telling them and they will, get their head out of their behind and eventually realize that they have to trade Aaron Rodgers and they will get a lot in exchange for him. And then they will move on with their lives and deal with Jordan Love or a new quarterback.
It's almost like because we just watched a 43-year-old, 42-year-old quarterback, whatever he is, win the Super Bowl. It's almost like we consider Aaron Rodgers like a young quarterback almost. Like he's coming off an MVP season. And not that anybody thinks of it as young, but I think in a different era, if we hadn't just seen that, we might even think like, yeah, he's 37, almost 38. Like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, I think he probably can retire at this point. And like you're right. I think that would shift what we perceive at least as the leverage. I think I'm probably selling him if I can. But you bring up the point about the rest of the weapons on the team, and let's talk about that because there really is only there's one, maybe two that are going to have like this is going to have a really big effect on, in my opinion. I don't think the running backs are affected very much, but obviously Davante Williams takes a big hit. Let's talk about Amari Rodgers here in just a minute when we're going to get into these rookies. By the way, if you're in the comments here, or if you're watching the YouTube stream, feel free, get your comments in. We want to answer as many questions. If you got rookie drafts coming up and you have questions for me or for Tyler, let's talk about them. Let's break it down. We'll give you our opinion, let you figure that out. But let's talk about Davante Adams before we get into any of the rookies, because a lot of people have him as their wide receiver one. There are a lot of people who at least have him in their top 5 to 10. How far down can you see him slipping if the assumption is, like you said, and like I'm saying, and like Matt Too Sporty here is saying, that Rodgers is gone and he's excited that you decided to go ahead and let the hair flow?
He should be very excited by that. It's true. Yep. I agree.
Yep. So, but how far down are you bumping him? I know he wasn't your number one already, but how far down are you letting him go?
Well, I mean, I just did a poll thread on Twitter. And as we know, as some people know, DeAndre Hopkins was 30th overall in DLF's April ADP. 30th overall. And really, let's say that Aaron Rodgers is traded. I did the poll. We can look at the data right now. The data is coming in live. So I can tell you that according to this poll, the poll said, if Aaron Rodgers is traded tomorrow, pick your wide receiver. So far, 50 votes. 44% Davante Adams, 56% DeAndre Hopkins. And I agree. I agree with that. Why would you prefer, just tell me, why would anyone prefer Davante Adams with Jordan Love over DeAndre Hopkins? Who's a better player? Who's better? Who's better? In a vacuum, who's a better player? Davante Adams or DeAndre Hopkins?
I mean, it's close.
I
would say DeAndre Hopkins because I love him, but I could see a case made as far as an NFL player both ways.
DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is not to me. I think DeAndre Hopkins is probably, to me, it could be the most. The only reason I don't like the most talented wide receiver in the league. I mean, the only reason I don't like him in Dynasty is because is about to turn 29.
Right.
But Davante Adams is only 5 months younger than him. I don't know. I think the talent gap, if you put DeAndre Hopkins on the Packers, and then you would see what he does. I think DeAndre Hopkins is more talented than Davante Adams. And I think most people would agree with that. Then I think he certainly has a longer track record of success, doesn't have all the injury concerns. Davante Adams has missed lots more games. DeAndre Hopkins never misses any games. So there's that too. And don't forget that DeAndre Hopkins had a lot of his career with absolute crap at quarterback, and he still was amazing. So to me, these two are not close, but as pure talents. And then DeAndre Hopkins would have Kyler Murray, whereas Davante Adams would have Jordan Love. They're almost the same age. And why would anyone possibly prefer Davante Adams? It's an easy decision to prefer DeAndre Hopkins. And let's remember that DeAndre Hopkins was valued in the mid-third round of one QB startups. One QB. He was valued in the mid-third round. People were taking Davante Adams in the top 5. He's going to be worth like a third-round startup pick in one QB if Aaron Rodgers goes away. According to this poll, that's what the poll says. And, there were other receivers in the poll. Justin Jefferson, 78.3% if Rodgers is traded. A.J. Brown, 87.1%. DK Metcalf, who people are a little down on, 60.3%. Tyreek Hill, 73.8%. And then another one, Stephon Diggs, 60.3%. And then even Jamar Chase, Davante Adams is only leading 55-45. So it's very interesting that people are not panicking like they should. They should be panicking because Davante Adams could lose like 20 or 30% of his value in the snap of a finger.
Not to mention that the coach comes from a background of wanting to run the ball anyway. So, I mean, I think there is like a little bit of a potential regression in terms of the overall target share potentially going down on that team without Aaron Rodgers. And as Jason points out, he didn't know Aaron Rodgers was a rookie. That's right. He's not. And the title of this is that we're going to be doing a reality check on rookies. So I think we should do that. So Aaron Rodgers is not, but Amari Rodgers is. And a lot of people are excited about the landing spot for Amari Rodgers. Lots of hype about him. Does this kind of kill his value? I mean,
I wouldn't say it kills it. It is what it is. I'm just valuing him as if Jordan Love is going to be the quarterback. So, but it's a good landing spot anyway. That's the thing. Like, Nico Collins is in a good landing spot also. Despite the fact that they have a quarterback problem, there's room on the depth chart and an opportunity for, in this case, Amari Rodgers to get playing time. We know that Marquez Valdez-Scantling is not a solution to the wide receiver problem. We know that Allen Lazard is just a guy. He's just a guy. He's fine. He is what he is. But Robert Tonyan was good on limited volume, but it was limited volume. There's room for a secondary receiver to do something there. And that's all we want out of a third-round rookie, right? I mean, no one's expecting Amari Rodgers, even with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. to really produce fantasy numbers in year one. Nobody's expecting that. But he's going to have an opportunity to get on the field. And that is all I'm looking for. So I do like the landing spot, but I'm assuming that it's with Jordan Love, which means that I probably don't like it as much as most people.
Yeah, I don't like it certainly as much as I did if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, obviously. But I do think there's something there, and I think you're right that you're right to bring up the Nico Collins thing, because I think we are a little bit excited that, hey, he could walk into some targets immediately, and Amari Rodgers certainly could too.
He could.
So let's talk a little bit about some reality checks on some of these running backs. Let's switch gears a little bit and go over to the running back position, because that's kind of a smaller group right here. And we'll focus it on some of the higher ends first. So if we think about Najee Harris, I mean, lots of smoke, lots of rumors that he was going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. How good of a landing spot is it that Najee Harris landed with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
7. 7. Yeah. I mean, it is good. He is going to be workhorse. There's no competition for touches. We know what I've said about the other players on that team. I have nicknames for all of them. We have Benny Snail, Anthony McFailure, and Kalen Mirage. So we have nicknames for those people. They are very bad. They will not challenge. I don't care what anyone says. There will be no committee. There will be no committee there. He will get, 18 to 20 carries a game in addition to work in the receiving game. He's the best receiving back on that team already. He's the best rushing back on that team already. He's the best back in every way on that team. So you could be looking at a massive work share, and we have opportunity. So that's the first thing. We have opportunity. Then the second thing, we have draft capital. We have the draft capital. He was picked in the first round. So we have opportunity. We have draft capital. I also think that Najee Harris was a good prospect coming in. He was my favorite running back in this class coming in. So we have everything. We have opportunity. We have draft capital. We have talent. Now, the landing spot is okay. It came with opportunity and draft capital. Could it have been a better offense? Yes. Could it have had a better offensive line? Certainly. It's not the greatest offensive line. Ben is a little bit washed, I think. He's certainly not as good as he was. So could that present a little bit of a scoring upside issue? Yes. But give me the guy who's getting 300 carries. Give me 300 carries. I want 300 carries and third down work on my team. I don't care how bad the offense is. I want that on my team with no competition for touches. So, yeah, I'd say a 7. I just wish it was there were a couple other spots that could have theoretically been a little bit better. But, yeah, 7.
No, and I think 7's a good number. I'm gonna just to disagree with you a little bit. I'll say 7.5. I like it a little bit more. The only thing I don't like is, and this is kind of similar to, in my opinion, what we should have seen with CEH. Very different players, very different talents. I get that, but Andy Reid can have a tendency every now and then to just decide he's going to throw the ball the whole game, and I think Mike Tomlin can have a little bit of that in him as well. I think Harris will have a great snap share. I worry a little bit that maybe there will be games where he just decides he's not going to run at all. We saw it last year.
But can you blame him?
See it again. No.
Well, I can't blame him for doing that the last 2 years. He had no usable running backs.
You can't blame him with Andy Reid either. He's got Mahomes. So, you do it that way. It's
right, but he doesn't have Mahomes. He has the corpse of Big Ben. And the last 2 years, he had no usable running backs. James Conner was always hurt. And like we said, we had Snail and McFailure as the options. We know how bad those two players are. Benny Snell, we could count, it's going to be like 10 seconds, and he still hasn't gotten to a lot of scrimmage. McFarland, I don't know what he was doing. He didn't manage to get on the field. He didn't do anything when he was on the field. So if I had those guys as my running backs, I probably wouldn't run the ball either. But if I had Najee Harris as my running back, I would run the ball. I would run the ball all the time. Najee Harris is a way better player than CEH. Way more talented. I trust Mike Tomlin he's a very good coach. He will see that Najee Harris is one of the most talented weapons he has on his offense, and he will use him appropriately. I have full confidence in that. My issues are not with the coaching staff. It's with the offensive line and the offense.
And of all the coaches, he's going to get I trust that he could fall into 70% snap share. That's something that Tomlin has done.
I think it'll be more.
It's hard to get more than 70, as you know, but like
it's hard, but it happens.
Is a potential number for him. By the way, we do have a few questions that have come in, and we're going to get to those in. We're getting those in just a second. I want to ask you about three more running backs before we transition, because most of the questions are wide receiver centric. So let's talk about Travis Etienne falling in Jacksonville. A little bit of a surprise pick. Interesting comments from Urban Meyer saying he was hoping for Cadarius Toney, who we'll get to here in just a minute. But Travis Etienne falls right there. Familiarity, obviously, with Trevor Lawrence. Scale of 1 to 10. How do you like the landing spot?
I have it a 6. I think I'm not as out on it as most people are. If James Robinson were to be transported to a different dimension, this landing spot would be a 10. It would be 10. I mean, it would be 10. It's perfect. He had the draft capital. He's reunited with his college quarterback. Now, this in fantasy football, we play a PPR game here at DLF, and Dynasty is a PPR game. So this quarterback delivered 37 receptions in 2019 and 48 receptions in 2020 to this running back. We don't have to worry about, does Trevor Lawrence throw the ball to the running back? Will he get along with this running back? No, we know that he delivered receptions to this running back. So to Travis Etienne. So we know that Travis Etienne will produce in the receiving game. It's not like CEH was in the Chiefs, where it's coming into a completely different offense with a completely different quarterback, with a completely different coach. We have no idea what they do. We know that Trevor Lawrence will throw the ball to Travis Etienne. So that gives me confidence in Etienne's floor. Now, as for the ceiling, Robinson is an obstacle. That's why this landing spot is only a 6. Robinson is a good player. There's no getting around that. He is good. He is not Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay was fine, but James Robinson is a good, not replaceable NFL running back. He is a starting caliber running back. And he's not going to go away. He's not just going to go away. You're not ever, with a healthy Robinson, you're never going to see more than 60 to 65% snap share for Etienne at the absolute best. I think we're heading for what New Orleans did. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, what we're heading for. And James Robinson is going to play in the Mark Ingram role for now, while Travis Etienne plays in the Alvin Kamara role. And as I just mentioned, we saw that Etienne produced in the receiving game with this quarterback. So I have full confidence that he will do the same in the NFL. But he's not a workhorse. He really is not a workhorse. And actually, I think for an NFL team, this is like a perfect landing spot for him. For us in fantasy, is it going to be frustrating, those games where Etienne gets 7 carries, like 5 receptions, and James Robinson gets 15 to 17, and kind of both are just RB3s? Yes, that's going to be frustrating. But I would lean toward Etienne even in year 1 in fantasy, just because of the PPR upside. And I think that it's the kind of offense Trevor Lawrence is going to make the offense go. And I don't know. I mean, I have Etienne as my RB16 in Dynasty. And I think in 2021, he'll probably produce less than that, maybe low-end RB2 numbers. And James Robinson will be a high-end RB3. I think it'll be one of those teams that produces 2 top 30 running backs. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. It's a little unfortunate that Robinson is there, but could be a scary 1-2 punch for the real-life Jaguars.
And I love the comp to Ingram and Kamara, because that's exactly who I think of. And the Saints defenses during that era were not good. And I don't necessarily expect the Jaguars defense to be awful, but I don't really expect them to take a big leap and be good either. So I think this could be a good offense. You obviously got a really good quarterback, and an offense that could support multiple usable fantasy pieces. I'm going to be really curious to see, because you're right. And I'm so glad you said it. James Robinson is not Phillip Lindsay. He's not Steve Slayton. He's not one of those guys. He's got a lot of fight in him. And I'll be really curious to see, Does the transition happen faster than it happened in, let's say, Detroit, where, by the way, Darrell Bevell was there, and he's there with Jacksonville as well, where they brought in Adrian Peterson and relied on him a lot more in the beginning, and DeAndre Swift eventually took over. Very different situation, but like, could you? I'm kind of thinking we may see a little bit more of a multi-use, like you said, and then we're trying to guess on the right guy to start.
Yeah, it's also like I think it's even. Maybe it's even a little bit more like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in a way. It's kind of like why you would never use James Robinson in the passing game if you could use Travis Etienne in the passing game. You would never make that choice.
Right.
Because Travis Etienne is always going to be used in the passing game. Because, I mean, Kareem Hunt is a better pass catcher than Nick Chubb. But I think that in this case, it's like if Kareem Hunt were actually the better player. Like, I think that Travis Etienne is probably slightly better on the ground than James Robinson, but it's very close. So it could, I don't know what they're going to do. It's a mystery. It's going to be, I can guarantee that it's going to be frustrating. And I caution people who invest in Etienne, don't be frustrated. You don't want to be frustrated. He's tied. He was picked in the first round. He has a full 4-year contract and a 5th-year option. He's tied with his college quarterback. This coaching staff just came in. He was a first-round pick for them. Do not give up on Travis Etienne if he comes out after 3 games and maybe just isn't doing what you want. He's just playing the third down role and that's it. Have some patience. I promise it will pay off. As I said, he's my Dynasty RB16, which implies that I think he's going to be good. And I would not give up on him after a slow start. That's when you go and buy. That's when you strike as a Dynasty manager. You have to take advantage of those kind of things with talented players like Etienne. So just don't give up on him. I'm just telling you that now because I do expect that there's going to be frustration over the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Let's talk about 2 college teammates who landed in very different situations. Javonte Williams, he lands in Denver, and then Michael Carter lands in New York. And Michael Carter is obviously much later draft capital, but less competition for carries than Javonte Williams is going to walk into with Melvin Gordon, presumably. Scale of 1 to 10 on those 2 landing spots for those 2 backs.
Well, when it comes to Javonte Williams, I would give it a 3. I don't really like anything about this landing. No, wait a minute. If it's Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, if that comes to pass,
right,
then I would change that answer to a 7.
Yeah.
Then I like it because Javonte Williams is very young and he's only 20. Young. He's 21 years old. So he's more than a full year younger than Etienne and 2 years younger than Harris. So yes, is he going to sit behind Melvin Gordon maybe for a few games? Yes, but he'll still be younger next year than those guys are now. So you have more longevity with Javonte Williams. I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that he has to sit. I'm more worried about the fact that if Denver doesn't fix the quarterback problem, that the offense is just going to be incompetent. The offense will be completely incompetent. I don't know whether I'd rather have Locke or Bridgewater. Probably Bridgewater, because I think he's more likely to throw to the running back than Locke. But I don't really they both suck. So until they solve the quarterback problem, I give this landing spot a 3 because the offense is going to be awful. So, I'm pretty out on Javonte Williams for 2021 until they trade for Aaron Rodgers. This is why I told Denver, pick up the phone now. Don't wait. But on the landing spot on surface, there's nothing good about it. It's a bad offense. I don't want him there, and he isn't going to start right away. So, what is there to really like about it? The draft capital, they traded up for him. That's something to like about it.
Let's jump to
second round.
Vic's question here. I think you're right. I those are really good answers. I have nothing more meaningful to add than that. So let's jump over to Vic's question here. He's got looks like maybe he's on the clock and these 4 guys are available, or maybe he's looking at who he thinks is going to be on the clock. Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall. I'm assuming this is Rondale Moore and then Elijah Moore. Can you rank those rookie wide receivers, please?
Sure. So I have Rondale Moore first, Elijah Moore second, Bateman third, and Marshall fourth.
Interesting. Okay, so talk about it. I mean, Bateman is going to be the guy that I think most people are the most surprised about there. And we're talking about landing spots. We're talking about reality checks. Bateman being third on that list for you, I think, would be a surprise for most people.
Why? Why? He's never going to receive any usable volume at any time. Why would this be surprising? They have committed to Lamar Jackson. They picked up his 5th-year option. They're going to work out a contract extension with him. People say, oh, situations change. You can't predict what's going to happen. Well, they just picked up his 5th-year option for 2022. That's worth over $20 million. Fully guaranteed, I might add. Remember that they changed the rules on the 5th-year option this year. As of 2022 and going forward, it used to only be guaranteed for injury. Now, the 5th-year option is fully guaranteed. So Lamar Jackson is owed $21.8 million or so in 2022. So how much further ahead do you want me to predict? They've committed already to 2 seasons of Lamar Jackson in this run-heavy offense. I don't want receivers in that offense. The coach said, we're not going to pass the ball more. We're not going to pass the ball. We like running the ball. No free agent receivers wanted to sign there. Juju was offered more money to sign there. He didn't sign there. Why? Because his value would have gone down. If he signed a 1-year contract there and put up 600 receiving yards, his value would have gone down. Even T.Y. Hilton didn't want to sign there. T.Y. Hilton was about to sign there. I mentioned this on the live stream during the draft. He was about to sign there, and then he decided he didn't want to sign there. It makes sense. No receiver wants to sign there because it's a run-heavy offense. The receivers block a lot in the offense. And I can't blame them for doing that because they're winning. They're winning games that way. They were a playoff team in 2018, a playoff team in 2019, the best team in the league during the regular season, and then a playoff team last year. So who am I to tell them, oh, you should pass more? Well, they would tell me, no, we're not going to pass more. We've been winning games. We won games. Why would we listen to what fantasy managers like you want? Why would we do that? So, no, I don't want Rashad Bateman. I'm not interested in the 80 targets he's going to get. And I just, I'll pass on him. I'd rather take the other players who I think have more opportunity in their offense. I liked Rondale Moore a lot coming in. The only reason he was lower in my ranks is because I expected him to go on day 3. I was pleasantly surprised when he went in the 2nd round. And he went to the Cardinals too, paired with Kyler Murray. I love it. They don't have a secondary target behind DeAndre Hopkins at all. Christian Kirk was a failure. AJ Green is washed. I love the landing spot there. And then Elijah Moore? Yeah. Are Corey Davis and Denzel Mims there? Yes. Denzel Mims has proven nothing in the NFL. Nothing. He sucked last year. Corey Davis, he's fine. He's a good, for an NFL team, he's not a 1. He's better than a 2, but he's not a 1. So Elijah Moore has an opportunity. We don't know what Zach Wilson is going to be. Zach Wilson could throw a lot, and they didn't acquire any running backs. They got Michael Carter, but they didn't get a real running back. They're going to pass the ball with Zach Wilson because they have to. They don't have a strong running game there. So I'm all for Elijah Moore in that offense. I think he's going to have big opportunity to succeed. And then Terrace Marshall came in last just because he was later in the draft than the other ones, and his landing spot I don't really like either. So I'll go with, I liked Bateman more pre-draft. He was drafted way earlier, and Terrace Marshall's landing spot is also not great. So I went with him last on the list.
So I don't think people realize how big of a difference there is between like Baltimore's pass attempts and everyone else.
They don't realize.
Yeah, like we think about Tennessee as a team. Like they had a rusher go for 2,000 yards last year.
I'm tired of it. I'm gonna speak out now. I'm gonna speak out now because I'm tired of that comparison.
Well, what I'm saying is they had a rusher go for 2,000 yards last year, like handed them the ball 1,000,000 times, and they threw the ball 100 more times last year than the Baltimore Ravens did. Like people don't realize how little Baltimore is throwing the ball.
But the thing about people always say A.J. Brown, we missed on A.J. Brown because of the landing spot. But people were projecting Marcus Mariota falsely. I was one of the ones who said Marcus Mariota will not be the quarterback of this team for very long. And I was right. He wasn't the quarterback of that team for very long because he was awful. They were losing games. Why would they commit to Marcus Mariota if they were bad? So that was a situation that we could have foreseen changing. The Ravens just committed to Lamar Jackson. It's not changing. It's not changing. Why would it change? They literally just doubled down. They doubled and tripled down multiple times on this offense. They recently invested more. They're not trying to move away from it now. Like that's the difference between the two. So I'm just tired of people citing the AJ Brown landing spot situation as a reason not to fade Bateman based on landing spot, because those two situations have no parallel. They are not related at all.
I don't think people realize how much worse the Ravens situation is.
It's much worse too. That's another thing.
It's way worse.
Separate issue.
Yeah,
it's way worse. But that's just yet another reason why I disagree with the parallel. Like we were fading. It's fine to fade. Marcus Mariota. It's fine to fade him because he was bad. But Lamar Jackson is different. He wasn't bad. Lamar Jackson was not bad. Lamar Jackson completed 64.4% of his passes last year. He threw 26 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, but he only threw for 2,757 yards. We see the problem. He was not bad, but running the ball was more efficient than passing it because the Ravens had really good running options. Lamar Jackson averaged 6.3 yards per carry. Dobbins averaged 6, and Edwards averaged 5. If you're getting that kind of production out of the running game, why would you pass more? Why? Tell me, why would you pass more if it's working not to? That's what I'm saying. There's no reason they would change it because they won a lot of games, and they were very successful doing it with the running game. So people saying that I'm tired. People are telling me they're going to pass much more. Why? The coaching staff is the same. The coaching staff didn't change. Like, no one can ever tell me it's all because, they drafted Rashad Bateman. That means they're going to pass more. No, it's because they could afford a luxury pick on a wide receiver because they didn't have that many other needs.
And like you said, they don't care about his fantasy value. They care about what he can do for the team. I think it's a good move for the team. Brandon says here, who has Lamar had on the outside, though, realistically to throw to, which I think is a fair point. But just because he's an upgrade in talent doesn't mean he's going to get 120 targets.
Yeah, there will be no 120 targets.
No.
Yeah, that is that's silly. I mean, Hollywood Brown had 100 last year. Yeah. He played all the games. He had 100. He caught 58 of them. It's not good. And
it's not good.
It's not good. And it's all of that on Hollywood Brown. People say, we would say that Mark Andrews is a good tight end, right? He only caught 58 of his 88 targets. You think that's Mark Andrews' fault? No. I think that's someone else's fault. So, I just, why would you pass more when you're so successful running the ball? They're so good at it. It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm 100% with you. The only issue I would have in the order is I might actually have Terrace Marshall because I think the landing spot might be a little bit better than you think, partially because of Joe Brady. And Joe Brady knows Terrace Marshall from his days at LSU. I think there's, Robbie Anderson's getting older. Obviously, DJ Moore's going to be there for a while. They don't have a viable tight end that's going to take away carries. It's just a matter of how quickly he gets on the field. But from a dynasty perspective, if he's like Jeff, he might have some injury history. It's probably good that he's going to have a little bit of time to get acclimated and, not ramp up faster than some of the other guys. I just
don't see why I would prefer him because he went later in the draft. He has Sam Darnold. They just exercised the 5th-year option on Sam Darnold. Same exact salary that I quoted for Lamar Jackson, paying him $21.8 million. So we have to assume that we probably have 2 years of Sam Darnold. And then with Sam Darnold, we have 3 years of failure. 3 years of failure. So they already have Christian McCaffrey on that team, who essentially plays as a wide receiver. Then they have DJ Moore, I don't think that Sam Darnold is magically going to become a QB1 this year. I just don't think that's possible. I don't think he's that kind of player. So where is all this volume for Terrace Marshall coming from? I have similar concerns that are not quite as bad, but if I liked Bateman more before and I liked He went earlier in the draft. I just don't see any reason why I would prefer Marshall, because I have serious concerns with his landing spot too. The only reason I prefer the two Moores is because I really like their landing spots, especially Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore's landing spot was one of my favorite, actually.
I really do like it too. I think, especially having the opportunity to replace Larry Fitzgerald, who, was operating out of the slot primarily, and he's a different type of player, obviously, but going to be really interesting to watch him operate with Kyler Murray in a way that
it will be.
Yeah. And I to go back to Elijah Moore too, because I think a lot of people are fading him because it's like, oh, it's the Jets. But like,
it's not the same Jets.
It's not the same Jets. It's very different. Like, sure, the GM's still there, but like we've still got we've got a brand new head coach, a brand new offensive system. It's one of the LaFleur brothers, but he's got that Shanahan, West Coast system, West Coast vibe. This is their draft pick. This is like they brought in Mims, they drafted him. I mean they brought in Corey Davis, they drafted Elijah Moore.
Yeah,
they didn't draft him.
And Mims was what did Mims do? He was drafted in the late second round. He fell in the draft for who knows what reason, but he fell in the draft. People thought he would be a first round pick. He wasn't. And then he delivered nothing on the field. He did nothing. And now he was so great that they decided to sign a receiver in free agency and also draft another one in the early second round. So that shows you what they think of Denzel Mims. They see him as a rotational player. They don't see him as a primary weapon. And I think that they see long-term Corey Davis and Elijah Moore as their top two receiving weapons. And I think they want Elijah Moore to be their top receiving weapon. I really do.
I agree with that. I think he's a really good receiver. I think the situation is better than people think, and I think he can represent a little bit of
Elijah Moore a lot. I was very excited for him coming into the NFL. There was first round buzz when the Titans were on the clock at I think 22nd overall. I was like, oh please let this be Rashad Bateman or Elijah Moore. Like, come on, like someone go there. They need to just have so many vacated targets. There's so much room for a receiver there, and they passed, and I was so upset.
Why do that when you have Josh Reynolds, though? That's the only thing you didn't consider. Why
would you take competent receivers onto your team? Why would you ever do that, right? And then the Packers, too. Maybe Aaron Rodgers would have changed his tune if they had delivered him if they had delivered Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore would have been – imagine Elijah Moore fitting in on that offense. He would have just been great. He would have been a perfect complement to Davante Adams. So the Jets were not my favorite choice, but they're not the worst choice. The opportunity there for him to climb the depth chart, which I like.
I'm going to take another question, give you a chance to pull up the ADP because I got a question that's going to involve that here in just a second too. But if you are joining us, there's a lot of people that just recently have joined us. If you're joining us, go ahead and get your comments in. We're here to help with your rookie drafts. If you guys have any
answer the people's questions. That's right. What we will do. That's always what I do is answering questions from the people.
Yep.
And if you miss out on answering a question on this stream, there are many other opportunities. If you subscribe to DLF, there's a whole forum where you can not just ask me, but the entire DLF analyst team has access to that forum and will answer your questions. It's one of the most underrated parts of subscribing to DLF. A lot of people don't know about it. It took me, when I subscribed over 3 years ago, it took me a while to figure out that was even there. It's very underrated. And I really suggest if you already have a subscription or you don't yet, go check out that forum. It's at the top of the page under the forums.
Jake chimes in and says, I have James Robinson and Antonio Gibson as my running backs. I will be able to draft Najee this year. Must have the 101. And he has other picks too. Look at you. Good job, Jake. Way to build that team. Do I have to pick Travis Etienne to lock down the Jags starter or sell, or does he keep Robinson? So basically he's got other picks. Like, does he need to try to get Etienne because he's got Robinson?
No. As our DLF colleague, Dynasty Outhouse, always says, you draft for value and you trade for need, always. So if you have the 101 in this draft, I would pick Jamar Chase at the 101 and one QB, if we're talking one QB. But let's say that you have your choice of the running backs. So Chase is picked first. You have your choice of running backs. I would take Najee. He has the opportunity, as we talked about earlier. I wouldn't bother with, though. I have to pick Etienne because I have Robinson. I don't care about that. Just take the value, take the most valuable player. The second part of the question I think is more interesting. Sell or keep Robinson. So forget about Etienne for a second. I think you have to keep Robinson. He's worth way more than you're going to get for him. The prices I've seen quoted for him are way too low. To give you an idea, because we want to help the people, I have James Robinson ranked behind the following 3 running backs: Kareem Hunt, Chris Carson, Myles Gaskin. Then comes James Robinson. And after Robinson comes players such as Trey Sermon, A.J. Dillon, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Michael Carter, Mike Davis. So I have Robinson ahead of those players, but behind the more, high-profile guys like Carson, Hunt, and Gaskin. So that's kind of where I value Robinson. But in trade, he's not getting that kind of trade value. He's just not. People are throwing him away, so you have to hold him.
Speaking of DLF and a subscription in Dynasty League football, which you absolutely should get, there's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is I just pulled up the trade finder to figure out what are people getting right now.
Talk about that.
James Robinson, because right now, the most recent trades that I see, these are from yesterday. James Robinson went for rookie 201. That
Format
is
on
in a
that?
super flex league.
That's fair. That's a fair. At the 201, you're looking at, you could have your choice of Rondale Moore or Elijah Moore. If you're telling me that I can get a young player like that, that's fair. Running back is so scarce, I'd probably just hang on to Robinson, though. But which tells me I'm never going to sell Robinson. If I'm not even selling him for the 201 in Superflex, I'm not selling him. I'm just going to keep him.
Yeah, it's 206 puts you somewhere like in the like you said, like Elijah Moore, maybe Terrace Marshall.
201 or
206? 206, yeah. 206.
I don't want 206. I don't want 206. 206. No, I don't want 206. 206 is like Cadarius Toney, Michael Carter. I don't want that.
Yeah, you're pretty close to right on there. Tylen Wallace is there. Chuba Hubbard is there.
Tylen Wallace is not there anymore. But neither's Chuba Hubbard with his landing spot. But this is important. This is why using the trade finder is important. If you go and read my articles, you will see that a lot of the time in the articles, I use the trade finder as part of the articles. It's an important thing because it gives the people an idea of what trades are happening recently for a certain player. A lot of my articles are just about one player at a time. So I'll go through and just search that player. It's easy to do. You can just see a good example, especially for a higher valued player like Robinson or someone who's recently changed in value, often has a lot of recent trades. Go through and you'll see options for what was traded to give you a good idea of what you can get. They pull from lots of MFL leagues. I don't know the number. It could be hundreds, thousands. It's more than hundreds. I don't know how many thousands it is, but it's more than hundreds. So a pretty big sample size. Just because it must be because there's literally always a trade for anything I ever want. So it has to be a pretty big number. I've never been let down by the trade finder. And while we're talking about trade tools, don't forget the trade analyzer. That'll help you put a number value on it to compare to a pick. It's very, very helpful. The devs did a lot of hard work on that tool. So just go check that out while you're checking out the trade finder. It's right above it in the tool section or below.
So we mentioned the 201 there. This was a question that came into us via Twitter, and I'll go get his handle here in just a second. But let's talk about that 201, 204. He's a competing team, he says here. And who should they be looking at, thinking about, targeting, studying with those picks?
Well, it shouldn't matter. Like I said, remember, we're drafting for value and trading for need. So it doesn't matter really if you're a contender or not. But I mean, we're talking Superflex or are we talking 1 QB?
I did ask that follow-up, and at Chivas Sport said Superflex.
Okay. So we're talking Superflex. So like I said, for me and my personal rankings, Rondale Moore is my 201. And to 204 is Rashad Bateman. So that's who comes up in my personal rankings. if you want to do something different, I have Michael Carter at 205. If you really feel that you're competing and you want to pass on Bateman to take a shot on Carter and his volume upside, I couldn't blame you. Bateman's not going to give you anything as a competing team. So if that's really how you feel, I could see that. At 201, I guess you could pass on Rondale Moore for Trey Sermon, but I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They're close though. In my overall rankings, they're only a few spots apart. So I say I don't want to do that, but they're not. The value difference is small. So if you really feel like you need a running back to compete, and but again, I don't recommend doing this. I recommend trying to either trade that pick for a veteran, trade up, trade down, or just take the most valuable player. I really don't recommend just drafting for need. That's the worst thing you can do.
Just to give the devil's advocate on the Moors, Randy chimes in. What 5'9" receivers have ever been fantasy viable? And he says, I like both Moors, but they seem like gadget players at best. I don't agree with this. I think
disagree.
Rondale
Moore has the highest BMI in this class. Thank you, Addison. Thank you, Addison, for educating me. If anyone watching, you're on this YouTube channel. You must tune in to Addison's videos. He posts many videos on this very channel. So you already found this one. You'll be able to find those too. Come and tune into the channel. He tries to post videos like every day. I don't know how he does it. He records alone. But that's from him. He reminded me that Rondale Moore has the highest BMI in this class. So any idea that he's just because he's short, he's not small. He's big. So I don't see Rondale Moore as a gadget player at all. I strongly disagree. And Elijah Moore, I don't really see Elijah Moore that way either. Why is Elijah Moore a gadget player? I don't understand.
I don't see that at all. Now, Rondale Moore, because of the way I think he was utilized in college, is why people think that. He was utilized on much more underneath routes, things like that. But I just think that was the offense. He showed that he can do a lot more than that. And I think if they utilize him in that air raid system in Arizona, it's going to be awesome. I don't think enough people are talking about how great the fit is for Rondale Moore in Arizona. It's really good.
I mean, here's what it says on the Cardinals' own website. They said that Cliff Kingsbury said that the GM Steve Keim made it clear. It's Steve Keim, made it clear to the coaching staff that their first two picks, one of which was Rondale Moore, must play a lot in 2021. They must play. They must get on the field. So I think that people concerned about Rondale Moore should cancel those concerns. I'd be more concerned about Elijah Moore right out of the bat, given what the Jets' comments were, is that he's just kind of coming in and like a depth role at first, and they said they're not going to be releasing Jamison Crowder, which I don't believe. Why are they paying him $10 million? I don't understand. But I'd be a little bit more worried with Elijah Moore, but not because he's a gadget player. I'd be more worried that he's just not going to get on the field enough right to start. But I just don't agree. I'm sorry.
He says, can you name any productive 5'9" wide receivers? There's a Hall of Famer named Steve Smith that did. I mean, the game is
changing too. Like, look, I am a person who likes bigger receivers. It's true. I'm biased towards bigger receivers. Where are they in this class? Who should I draft? Tell me, who should I draft? Who should I draft that got good draft capital and a good landing spot that I want to draft? So you tell me which big receivers are out there that I should draft, and I'd love to draft them, but they don't exist. There's one. His name is Jamar Chase, and I love him. I love Jamar Chase because he's everything. He had the draft capital. He's the big receiver. He's in the good offense. He has everything. So that's the one I want to draft. Every other receiver in this class, they all have some issue. They either didn't get the draft capital we want, didn't get the landing spot we want, or has some size concerns. There are guys we may or may not get to, like Tutu Atwell, who I just can't do it. There's a point where it becomes too small.
There's no reason to talk about Tutu Atwell.
No,
we're not going to talk about him.
There's no reason to discuss him. But He's too small, but I don't consider either Moore to be too small to succeed in the NFL. I don't agree.
We have a few more questions coming in through the comments that we're going to get to here, but I want to ask. Let's reality check on some landing spots. And for this one, it's a little bit more draft capital based. But Amon-Ra St. Brown lands in Detroit, and he is going to presumably walk into a depth chart if it doesn't change. That includes Brashad Perryman and Quintez Cephas and Tyrell Williams. What do we think about the fit with Amon-Ra in Detroit having a 4th round draft capital?
Well, I'm out on Amon-Ra St. Brown because I don't want receivers who are drafted on day 3. Let me thank my friend Dynasty Island, Rich. Here's the list of players that were drafted in rounds from 2010 to 2019. Here are the players that were drafted on day 3 that have put up a top 24, one top 24 season. Any top 24 season. Stephon Diggs, Marvin Jones, Mike Williams, not the Chargers one, the Tampa Bay one, and Antonio Brown.
And wasn't that done in Seattle or something? It wasn't even with his original team.
I don't know where it was done, but that's it. That's the end of list. 4 top 24, not even top 12, top 24. There are 4 in 10 years. 4 in 10 years. I'm out on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've seen him going in the early 2nd round. No, thank you. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown in the mid-3rd round. I'll never get him. I don't want him. Someone else can have him. I don't care. I don't care what the opportunity says. 4 in 10 years for top 24 doesn't work for me. So I'll pass on Amon-Ra St. Brown. No, thank you.
So he was 7 picks into the 4th round. He's right there on that edge.
Well, we say that, but there were a lot of other players who have done that. We have 4 in 10 years.
Yeah.
4 in 10 years. You're literally betting on, it says in the thread. So there were 162 wide receivers drafted. 4 had a top 24 season ever, even once. And what are we doing here? I don't want this guy. Someone else, I'll never have him. Someone else can have him. I've told everyone who asked me for advice, don't even, just stay away. Yeah,
that's really that's heartbreaking because I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So do I.
You're
not the only one who's heartbroken.
Yeah, I like the player. I do think the odds are stacked against him, but I think I'm going to invest. The problem is people are going to invest higher than probably I want to invest. That's probably
going in the 2nd round in every draft I did, early 2nd in most of them. So that's to me, that's on those managers, that's an incompetent decision. So they can do that, but I just pointed you to why that they shouldn't do that. They're literally just lighting their draft capital on fire. So they shouldn't be doing that. That's a big mistake. And I can't endorse it. I just can't. So
how many outliers can we have realistically in the same draft? I think if everybody's an outlier, then realistically, how many are we going to get?
I like Amon-Ra St. Brown if you're gonna get him at a value, but people are taking him. This is the biggest danger. They're taking him just because there's opportunity on the depth chart right now. Not because the quarterback is good. Not because maybe they liked him as a prospect, but it's just someone whose name we've heard of. In a bad offense, why are we taking what about Amon-Ra St. Brown dictates that? Was he the best prospect in the world? No, he was fine. He was a fine prospect. There were other fine prospects who fell in the draft. Are we drafting them? No. It's just that he happened to land somewhere where there's immediate opportunity on the depth chart. Guess what? Teams draft wide receivers every year. Unless he's the best player in the world, they'll draft 2 more wide receivers next year, and then he'll be back to where he belongs for a 4th round pick. I just do not get it. I don't get why people are spending early 2nd round picks on Amon-Ra St. Brown when there are other players available. It just makes no sense. None.
So that pretty much answers the other question that we got on Twitter here. And let me get the name real quick.
I listed the 2. There are not guys. Guys are not, no. There are two. Their names are Stephon Diggs and Antonio Brown. They're not guys. There have been two in 10 years.
This was from Jeremiah at J McMillan 54.
But it's true. There have literally been two. There have been two that overcame it this way. And those are two of the best route runners of all time. Not all time, but like my lifetime. Like in my lifetime, Stephon Diggs and Antonio Brown are two of the best route runners. That's a miss on the NFL that they fell, but I do not see Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of the best at anything. He's good at some things, but we're not talking about, I don't see that. So like I named the two players that you're talking about. There are not guys. There are two. Let's get the narrative right. That's the truth. You know, you can say whatever you want, but that is the truth of the situation.
So the other options would be in terms of like day 3, Tyler
I don't
Wallace.
want any others.
We're talking, we already mentioned him.
No Tyler Wallace. See what I said about Rashad Bateman and apply it like
100.
Multiply it by 100 for Tyler Wallace. He was even lower in the draft than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was one of the people who liked Amon-Ra more than Tylen Wallace to begin with. So
me too.
Yeah, if we're talking about how I felt about Amon-Ra in the perfect landing spot on day 3, how do you think I feel about Tylen Wallace in the worst possible one? So I won't draft Tylen Wallace at all. To give you an idea, I have Dez Fitzpatrick ranked ahead of Tylen Wallace in my rookie rankings.
Okay, 1 to 10 landing spot. How you feel about this reality? Give me a reality check. 1 to 10 on Kadarius Toney landing with the Giants. First round capital, first day.
For Kadarius Toney, 5, middle of the road. I mean, he went to somewhere where he has a good path to playing time. He got the first round draft capital, but it's not my favorite. It's not bad though. He is a good complement to Kenny Golladay. He complements Kenny Galladay's skills very, very well. And for a rookie to play on the same team as Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley, and also Evan Engram, like nobody's expecting fantasy production from Kadarius Toney in year 1, right? So we just want to see him flash something. And I think he'll have a good opportunity to do that in New York. He's one of my targets actually in rookie drafts because people are so out on him. I heard of him going in the 3rd round. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we taking a receiver who went in the 1st round in the 3rd round? We can't do that. That's stupid. I see people in many drafts taking Amon-Ra St. Brown over Kadarius Toney. That is just dumb. Why? I don't care that you liked Amon-Ra St. Brown coming in. I'll take the receiver. I don't care who they are. I'll take the receiver who went in the 1st over the one who went in the 4th any day. Doesn't matter. I don't care otherwise.
We got some good questions coming in. Let's jump into these. Matt asks, how do you guys feel about the 110, 210, 110 and 210 for Deshaun Watson? I'm sure that's not Ben Watson. Deshaun Watson and Darnell Mooney.
What is this? Superflex?
Superflex, PPR, tight end premium.
I mean, I'll take the. I hate this. This is not a good question. I'll take the Watson side, but I don't want this to become the Deshaun Watson show. So I'll take the Watson side. That's your answer, but because the 210 and Mooney are about the same, and I'd rather have Watson over in a Superflex tight end premium. The 210 and Mooney. You don't think they're about the same?
With the upgrade in quarterback? I don't know.
Darnell Mooney. Remember what we just said. Darnell Mooney was a 5th round pick. Remember how many day 3 guys have ever hit. So you're asking me to choose between guys like I could get De'Ami Brown there. Maybe I could get Amari Rodgers, guys who went in the 3rd round. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, I'd probably prefer Darnell Mooney to those guys, but I'd much prefer Watson to the 110. The 110 is just not enough. I'd rather just take my chances on Deshaun Watson, even though I'm one of those people who thinks there's a good chance he never plays again. But I'll take the Watson side. But in order for me to really explain, I could do a whole show on my answer just to that question. So unfortunately, I'm more just giving you the answer. But yeah.
At what point in your ranks do you consider trading out for a 2022 first?
Good question. Okay, so starting from the top, I have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Zach Wilson, Kyle Pitts. I'm not giving up any of those players in a tight end premium or whatever at all. And then Travis Etienne, I'm also not giving up for a 2022 first. So those top 8, I'm not giving up. After that, I come to Javonte Williams, Mac Jones, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle. It's hard to pass up on a running back who's young, even for a first, far away. So I'd probably just hang on to Javonte Williams. Next is Mac Jones. I mean, that's about even to me. I'd probably rather just stick with Mac Jones, but I don't really like Mac Jones. So I don't hate him, but I don't love him. So that's about fair. And I'll take my chances on a 2022 first over those receivers, over Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle. I just think I'd rather take my chances that I'm getting a running back or a quarterback next year, because I want a running back or a quarterback. I'm not confident in Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle at all. So I guess that means 111 or later, I'll trade out. 110 is very, very close. And 109 or earlier, hard no.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way to build your team too. And in fact, I would probably ask for like a 2023 third or something like that in addition to that. Just try to
think you'll get it.
Those picks.
I think you might get that with Mac Jones. I think you might be able to, at 110, you might be able to get 2022 first plus for Mac Jones, but I don't think you're getting 2022 first plus for Devonta Smith. I just don't. The way people play, everyone wants quarterbacks and running backs. I just don't think you're getting someone to add to a 2022 first just to get Devonta Smith. Like, I just don't think people are like psyched on Devonta Smith. So yeah, I guess that's my best answer to that question, but it's a very, very good question and something that's very important for people trying to build and accumulate value. So I very much appreciate that question. It's a good question.
Yeah. There's been a lot of like talk in our comment section here about size and Valverde. For those size truthers, please tell me what size has to do with release, separation, ability to break at the stem, appropriate angle.
There comes a point where you're too small.
Sure.
Your Tutu Atwell is just too small. I just don't think that Tutu Atwell can survive playing in the NFL. He's just too small. Like, there comes a point at which I think that you're just going to get snapped in half. That's really why. Tutu Atwell I can't do it. He's just too small. If he proves, no one has ever succeeded at Tutu Atwell size, ever. He would be the first one to ever succeed. Outside of Atwell, I am not fading anyone else in this class because they're too small. He's the only one.
Shane asked, picking up some undrafted rookies. Now, this is obviously, hopefully, Shane, this is very late in your draft, but some undrafted rookies from our rookie draft. Can you help with rank these guys? So
this is good because I spent all day on Saturday ranking for the people. Ranking to be ready to answer questions from the people. I ranked 76 players deep, 76. So I'm well prepared for this question. Let's scroll down a little bit. So of these players, I have Elijah Mitchell first of this list, just because we know that San Francisco, or Elijah Mitchell's not on this list.
No, but he's a good one to talk about.
Wow, I'm clearly a little hallucinating because I spent so much time ranking, but okay, where are we? Right. Okay. So these other guys are lower. So perhaps the people agree with me that Elijah Mitchell should come earlier than these guys. Yes. Okay. So in this stage in drafts, I want a running back. I don't have any interest in any receivers or tight ends. So we can just eliminate those. Of these players, I'm going to start with Larry Roundtree for me comes first. He plays, he was drafted by the Chargers. The Chargers have opportunity behind Austin Eckler. Josh Kelly sucks. He sucks. He did nothing last year. I wrote a whole article about Josh Kelly and how bad he was. He sucked. He lost carries to Kalen Ballage. So he's not the answer. We've had 3 years of Justin Jackson. He doesn't do anything for me. So Larry Roundtree has an opportunity to earn a role there. So he would be my first choice. After him, I kind of like Khalil Herbert next in Chicago. He is behind David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen, but I liked Herbert the most of these guys coming into the draft. So he's the guy that I want next, just in case maybe David Montgomery isn't it, or he gets hurt. He could step into a 1-2 down role. I know Damian Williams is also there. And then after that comes Demetric Felton. I liked him also coming into the draft, but he went to a horrible landing spot. He went to Cleveland. He's not even going to touch the field without an injury. So unfortunately, I liked him a lot, which is why I have him next. But his path to playing time is really bad. Then after that, I would go with Jarek Dokes.
Okay.
We'll have to.
We'll talk about that. Don't worry.
Jarek Dokes, 7th round pick of Miami. I like it because they didn't really draft any other running backs other than whatever. Yeah, Jarek Dokes. I don't know what it is, but they didn't draft any other running backs. So he could at least challenge Salvon Ahmed and Malcolm Brown for the backup role there. And there's a lot of people on Twitter hyping Dokes. So I would look at him next. And then these other three are irrelevant to me. Fehoko was drafted in the 5th by the Cowboys. Maybe he'll have some long-term opportunity. Day 3 wide receiver, I don't care. So he's the next, but he's irrelevant. And then Daz Newsome was what? The 6th round pick of Chicago? Okay. I don't care. He's not someone I'm going to be drafting. And Jacob Harris, he went to the Rams, right? And he's not even on my board. Yeah.
I'm going to have one name that this actually from a pretty prominent draft guru guy, Stevie Scott, who signed with the New Orleans Saints. Path to playing time obviously isn't there, but the Saints do have a history of finding some of these undrafted free agents with Chris Ivory, with Pierre Thomas.
Who is that though?
Who? Stevie Johnson? I mean, Stevie Scott.
Yeah,
he's running back from Indiana. Okay, I'm just saying, if this is the range we're talking about, undrafted guys.
Yeah,
I'm going to trust the Saints evaluation because
he wouldn't be my choice. That's the thing. I would prefer. There are 2 undrafted running backs that I would be interested in, and he's just not one of them. 2 that I would be interested in. First, Javian Hawkins, who signed in Atlanta, I would be interested in. Atlanta has nothing at running back, and I liked Hawkins in the pre-draft process. And then another guy I liked in the pre-draft process, Jarrett Patterson, signed with the Washington football team. The Washington football team, they do have Antonio Gibson, but I'm not a big fan of J.D. McKissick and Peyton Barber, their backups there. So maybe he'll have some sort of path to see a depth role. That's all you want. Those would be the 2 UDFAs that I would be interested in, along with some other guys we hadn't mentioned. Again, I'm always interested in running backs in this range. Guys that were popular pre-draft, Kylan Hill, 7th round pick of the Packers, just in case. And then it's a terrible spot, but Jamar Jefferson, who we're interested in pre-draft. I mean, he went to Detroit in the 7th round. That's like death, unfortunately, because they signed Jamal Williams and to a decent size contract, and they have DeAndre Swift. So I don't see how he's going to get on the field, but he's someone that you could take a shot on. But Jared Dokes is one of my favorite UDFA, or one of these players, just because he's the one where I see the path to playing time. Even if I'd never heard of him pre-draft, to be perfectly honest.
Ryan chimes in. He got Tutu Atwell at the 4-4.
I mean,
have
sure,
to respect the draft
4-4, whatever. But I have him ranked at 32 in Superflex tight end premium. I guess maybe I'd get him there according to how people are acting. But yeah, he's the one where I can't do it. There's another wide receiver who I also criticized on the broadcast, but I'm willing to take my chances on Dwayne Eskridge, who went 1 pick above him, just because Dwayne Eskridge's problems are that there are other players on the team, whereas Tutu Atwell has every problem imaginable. He's too small. There are other players on the team. They drafted more receivers. There's so many receivers. And, they have Stafford, who's not quite as good as Wilson, even though the offense might be a little bit more pass happy. I cannot see the world in which Atwell succeeds. So
it's hard to imagine him getting enough work and getting enough touches and all that stuff at his size. So
whereas Eskridge, if Tyler Lockett tore his ACL tomorrow, I could see that's what's required, but at least I can tell myself the story of how Dwayne Eskridge becomes fantasy relevant. Whereas Atwell, I'd have to go to 5 hypotheticals to get to the point, and I just don't.
Tony Turley chimes in, and he apparently donated $10 to this.
Yeah,
I just want to tell you, Tony.
Is this like a thing?
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing, but Tony, I just want to tell you, like, look, Tyler has got a great Patreon that you can join and get really good value for.
Oh, forget that.
And we'll answer
get a DLF subscription. If you don't already have one, get a DLF subscription.
Do that too.
It's
absolutely.
like what is it? 30? It's $39.99 a year.
Well, and $10 if you put something in on Monkey Knife Fight, right? Like, you get a free. True. So there's some great deals.
Get the subscription.
Do that. Yes,
we will figure out where this money went to, and we will.
Yes, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
We'll talk to Addison.
We'll talk to Addison.
Yeah,
and we will get him to message you from the YouTube account about what you need to sign up for.
But Dynasty startup tomorrow morning, PPR. I love these kind of questions. 1.5 PPR, 1.5 PPR premium for tight end, 1 QB. I got the 101, and we'll take Christian McCaffrey. Should I take 107 for my 2022 first and 501?
What?
A million times yes, right?
Yes. 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 What kind of question is this? Yes. Yes. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it now. Yes. Take the 107 for a 2022 first and 501. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Now. Now. Yeah. Yes. Except before the other guy changes or girl changes their mind. Don't wait.
Yes.
Take it.
Definitely take it. And at the 107, I mean, you're still getting like a elite.
Getting. I mean, you could be getting Justin Jefferson there. You could be getting AJ Brown. You could be getting DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, or if you want, you could have Alvin Kamara, or perhaps Dalvin Cook if that's the direction, or even Cam Akers. Some people would say Cam Akers there for the 2022 first and 501. I mean, come on, that's laughable. You could take the offer right now before it goes away.
Pulling up our startup ADP data on dynastyleaguefootball.com. Make sure you're a subscriber, a premium subscriber. Number 7, Cam Akers, you nailed it. Cam Akers, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, going in that same range. Maybe Kamara falls, like you said, Dalvin Cook falls. But lots of great options there at the 107. 501, you're talking in a 12-team league, you're talking about
this is old ADP anyway. I don't want Kareem Hunt. I mean, I want him, but like, come on.
It's a huge upgrade. It's a huge upgrade.
Come on.
So yes, definitely do that. And hey, congratulations, Tony. He's already has a subscription. His wife is independently wealthy. You have got it going on.
We will figure out where this money goes to.
Yes.
We have no idea.
Definitely. Hey, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the question.
We do have to figure out and just make sure that the money's going somewhere because we don't know. So we will find that out before we come on the next show to make sure that these donations are actually going somewhere. And if they are, we appreciate them. But we promise that we will check on that and give you an update before we do any more shows.
Mike says 1 QB. He has the 102. He was offered AJ Brown and Michael Pittman and a 4th rounder. So he has the 102.
Oh, wait a minute. You have the 102 and you're offered all of this? What?
Wow.
I don't understand. Take the AJ Brown side. This is a joke.
Okay, so AJ Brown definitely over Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Plus you get Michael Pittman and you get a 4th rounder. Yeah.
More? The Michael Pittman and 4th rounder should be on the other side. Then the trade would actually be reasonable.
Yeah.
I'd still probably prefer to have AJ Brown, but then I could understand why you would do it. But no, the other pieces are on the wrong side here. I don't understand this trade at all. Pull the trigger again. I'll give you the same advice I gave the last question. Pull the trigger now. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't overthink it. That's the other thing I tell people in Dynasty. If you see an offer and you think you like it, don't delay. Delay is bad because if you're playing against someone like me is very impatient. Sometimes I send the offer and then 5 minutes later I decide, I don't want to do that. I revoke the offer. So if you see the offer that you like, take it because you never know. It might go away or someone could make a deal with someone else that kind of counteracts that offer and makes it go away that way. So if you see an offer you like, take it. This is why, and I say this a lot, this is why you have to have confidence. Yes, you were confused, and I'm happy you asked, but go accept it. Go accept it now while we're still on the stream. But yes, this is why you should have your own process, have confidence in your decision. When you see an offer like this, don't go and ask us. Just take it and then brag about it. Make your question, I got this so-and-so. How'd I do? And we'll tell you, you did great. Congratulations on accepting it before it went away.
That's right.
That's a good piece of advice, a practical advice for anyone playing Dynasty.
Good. So he brought up Michael Pittman there. That's a guy that Indianapolis didn't bring in a significant pass catcher.
Well, unfortunately, they failed to bring in a quarterback. So they failed to fix the quarterback position. So they will not be producing much fantasy value in that offense because Carson Wentz is so bad. We talked about Lamar Jackson's 2020 season. Some people were complaining about that. Oh, if you want complaints, go look at Carson Wentz's 2020 season. His 57.4% completion, 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And on top of all of that, somehow, then this is mind-boggling to me, managed to have 50 sacks taken in 12 games. I don't know how he pulled that off. He led the league in sacks despite only playing 12 games. So, yeah, if you think that Michael Pittman is going to produce a lot of fantasy value, I would think otherwise. So I would go sell him right now. Go sell him now. Don't wait.
Jonah, have they gone over players like Amon or Tutu? We did. The brief synopsis is Tyler hates him.
Yes, that is about right. Tutu is a disaster.
This is an interesting Tutu going to be Jakeem Grant. That's interesting.
Well, why do I want him then? Jakeem Grant never.
I definitely don't want him in that case. Yeah, Mike. You already discussed how wrong you are about Carson Wentz.
About Carson Wentz. Go search Carson Wentz lowlights on YouTube. Search that. Go watch the video, and you tell me on some of these plays what he was thinking. I'd love to hear it. What a generous explanation for on some of those plays. What the plan was. I just want to hear someone, because no one's been able to answer this question. Yes, I watched 12 of those games. Let me tell you, it was something. Put that comment up there. It was something. It was very bad. As a Giants fan, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved every minute of Carson Wentz on the field. Let me tell you. But I watched it with glee. But yes, it was. Oh my God, it was really bad. I'll believe it when I see it. But until then, I have no want of any of him.
Yeah. Are you okay on time?
Oh, I'm here to serve the people. We must answer questions from the people. I always say I will answer questions from the people. If it takes 7 hours to get to all of the people's questions, it will take 7 hours to answer questions for the people.
If you are just joining us, we have talked a lot about the landing spots and how we feel about them with these rookies. We are also taking comments or questions. If you are in here and you have a dynasty startup, you have a rookie draft coming up, anything like that, and you have some questions, you just want to run something by us, go ahead and put them in the comment section. We'll talk about it. We'll interact here. We would absolutely love the opportunity to help. While some of those questions might be coming in here, Tyler, I'll ask you. We didn't talk about the guys at the top of the draft. So let's talk about Jalen Waddle. What do you feel about his landing spot? Scale of 1 to 10, Jalen Waddle in Miami.
3.
Ooh, really?
Well, what is there to like about it? What do you like about it? Because clearly you don't agree.
Yeah, gosh, he was so landing spot. I guess I'm also counting. He was the second wide receiver taken. He's familiarity with his quarterback. I think definitely factors in. Opportunity for targets fairly immediately, in my opinion, because this competition is not like people are like, oh well, Mike Gesicki. Look, if Mike Gesicki is causing you to lose targets, you were not worth the number 6 overall pick. I'm sorry.
Here's what you're saying, though. Like, he was always going to go in the top 10. So, all of the options in the top 10 were actually bad. So, the problem is that you say, oh, he's familiar with Tua, right? Well, let's look at his stats with Tua. Did Tua prefer to throw to him, or did Tua prefer to throw to his other receivers? Who did Tua throw to more? I don't think he threw to Jalen Waddle more. I remember the biggest complaint about Jalen Waddle was that he didn't really produce much in college. He didn't really break out because Tua preferred to throw to the other receivers. So you're telling me that it's not like Devonta Smith is reuniting with Tua. That would be a very different, situation. Or Devonta Smith reuniting with Mac Jones would really be what we want. But,
he was available though.
And he was available and they didn't take him, which is bad.
You have to think Tua had some input there, right?
I think so, but that also, to me, that's more of a negative on Devonta Smith. I mean, you can see who he really preferred. He preferred Jerry Jeudy. That's who he preferred. He liked Jerry Jeudy better than these two, which is why I still have Jerry Jeudy ranked in my startup rankings above these two. Because I just don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand why. Jerry Jeudy's younger than them. He's younger. He's
going to have Aaron Rodgers throwing in the ball.
Then they wouldn't be close. Then they wouldn't be close because I really hate the quarterback. I mean, Tua is boring. He is boring. I don't want Tua to be the quarterback for my fantasy weapons.
Is he, or is Chan Gailey boring? Because to me, like, that is what was boring about that offense.
Okay. There were plays last year. Well, there were plays last year. I mean, you're telling me that it was the coach's fault that Tua failed to deliver the ball down the field? That was the coach's fault. That was the coach's fault that he couldn't do that? The coach
I'm willing to give him a pass.
Prevented his arm from throwing the
ball
ball
in college. We know he was hurt. I am willing to give him a little bit of a pass.
He wasn't the same after the injury. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I'm no doctor, but, the Tua that we saw in 2020 is not the Tua that we saw at Alabama. They're just not. He's just not the same player. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I mean, we need Jeff on this show. Jeff, as Jam Thrive PT, a great person to follow on Twitter.
Absolutely.
We need him on the show because he could tell us why Tua's hip is causing him to play poorly. But he didn't play very well. I mean, he didn't produce. How were the fantasy weapons? I mean, just look. How were the fantasy weapons when Fitzpatrick was in the lineup? And then how were the fantasy weapons with Tua in the lineup? And you know what? DLF has a great tool where you could actually do that. You could use the splits tool. DLF splits tool could tell you the exact answer to that question. And I suggest that, we'll go do that after the show is over potentially. But, I mean, look at Tua's numbers. He started 9 games and he threw for 1,814 passing yards. That's like 200 a game. We don't want that. He constantly got pulled out of the game. He totaled a measly 11 touchdowns. I don't want 11 touchdowns. He was a rookie, but Joe Burrow was a lot better. Joe Burrow produced more. What about Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert, he wasn't as heralded as a prospect. He produced. And so what are the excuses? The coaching staff caused him to not throw the ball as well? I mean,
I'm actually going to say yes. I do believe that there was a limitation set because they were not letting him throw the ball a lot. Now, I could argue both sides of that. Like, I get why that could be good and bad, but
he wasn't efficient on the throws that he made. You're saying, he didn't throw the ball a lot, but he wasn't efficient on the throws that he made. I mean, his completion percentage was lower than Lamar Jackson's. Like, he averaged, you tell me, is 6.3 yards per attempt good?
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think they were. I do think they were holding him back. I do think there was a lot of like, let's win games with defense. Let's not push the ball down the field. I don't think they trusted him. That's the main thing. And I can say,
why didn't he succeed on the plays where he did pass the ball then? What about, so I understand our point about the volume. I agree with you that they did not let him throw the ball as much, but he didn't succeed on the plays where he was throwing the ball. He didn't succeed on the plays he was throwing the ball. So what's the excuse for that? That the coaching staff just changed his arm angle?
But I do think it's meaningful that they moved past their play caller. I think they looked back at the season and they said, here's something we're going to do to fix our team for next year. We're going to get rid of our play caller. And they promoted from within. So there's still some level of familiarity, obviously, with Tua and what he can do and what he can't do and things like that. So there's some good things about that. But I think that the fact that they decided to move on from the play caller gives me hope. And I think that's where our difference is probably with Waddle. Is I'm more willing to look at who I thought Tua was going into the NFL. And if he hadn't played at all, like if he didn't play at all last year, we would be excited about it, right? Like if Ryan Fitzpatrick played all year last year, we would be pretty pumped about seeing Tua.
But I'm less excited because we saw him and he was bad.
Yeah, good point.
He was bad. People say, "Oh, he wasn't bad." He was bad. 6.3 yards per attempt. We're talking about like Drew Lock, Andy Dalton, Mitch Trubisky level. It's bad. Like and he didn't deliver any touchdowns. He delivered like no touchdowns. He didn't deliver anything with his legs either. Like wasn't mobile. Where was he scored a few touchdowns, but it feels like the mobility kind of went away after his hip injury, which makes sense. But like, I don't know. It's a shame because I like Waddle. I just don't like this fit at all. I actually like Waddle as a player. I'm hoping that they move on from Tua. That's what I want them to do. I want them to get a better quarterback at some point in 20. It's possible. We didn't want to talk about it earlier. But what if Deshaun Watson becomes available? Miami was very interested. They were very interested in Deshaun Watson. You don't see the Chargers. The Chargers were not interested. You didn't hear them talking about we might be interested in Deshaun Watson. Miami was like, Deshaun Watson could be available. What's it going to take? What's it cost? This guy, he's fine, but clearly we weren't so committed to him, right? So that tells me that there's quarterback uncertainty with the Dolphins. And then, with Jalen Waddle, Tua failed to throw the ball deep. He failed to do it. So, of course they don't like the fit because I haven't seen any evidence that Tua is going to succeed throwing the ball deep in the NFL. So if there's no evidence, what am I supposed to do? Just say it's going to happen? I can't do that. So yeah, I dislike it. But I'm hoping that Jalen Waddle's talent, which I believe in, can overcome that. But the landing spot, I dislike it. That's why I gave it a 3.
Open 24 hours says have the 406 and 407 can draft rookies or free agents. He's got Javian Hawkins. I guess that's Ramondre
Stevenson.
Yeah, Brevin Jordan, Anthony Ferkser, Dwayne Eskridge. I guess players in that range.
These guys are literally all within like the same round in my startup rankings. Like, well, Javian Hawkins is not a consideration here, but Brevin Jordan as well. So it's those are way off. But the other ones, they're all within. Stevenson, Ferkser, and Eskridge are all right next to each other in my rankings. I would probably go. It's hard. Like, I feel like Stevenson's just going to give you nothing at all. I read the sleeper alert today that says that they don't plan to use him at all. So that I didn't like to hear that. I think I'd just take Eskridge and Ferkser here. I am very high on Ferkser. They failed to accumulate any receiving weapons. No receiving weapons. They decided that Dez Fitzpatrick was a good idea. That's what they did in the 4th round. So Anthony Ferkser, let's not forget that Anthony Ferkser had almost the same number of targets as Jonnu Smith. Similar receptions, similar yards. The difference was touchdowns. Jonnu Smith scored 9 and Ferkser scored 2. That was the difference between the two players. So you're telling me now that with Jonnu gone and not replaced whatsoever, why couldn't Ferkser produce? Why couldn't he? He could completely produce in the offense. So there's no reason why he couldn't. So he's a great target for me in tight end premium leagues. People don't see it yet. They will, but they don't see it. So I would go with Eskridge and Ferkser here. I'm just not interested in Stevenson really at all. Just given, I think, wait till he sits out the whole year and then buy him because I think that's what's going to happen. Just like what happened to Damian Harris as a rookie. Harris was a 3rd round pick and he sat literally the whole year. He played four snaps, 4 carries. That was it. So I'm not interested in Stevenson really.
I'm warming up to the idea of Eskridge. I know there's some competition, obviously, for targets there, but behind behind Metcalf and Lockett, there's nothing. And I know that they create a big. I mean, Everett's there, I guess, at tight end, but like there's
Everett is barely there.
Yeah.
If he was so great, he was drafted in the second round on the Rams. He was so great. Why didn't he break out on the Rams? It's because, Tyler Higbee was so much better, right? 5 good games in 5 years from Tyler Higbee. And that was the player that stopped, 4th round pick, Tyler Higbee, by the way, that stopped Gerald Everett from breaking out. So if you're thinking that Gerald Everett is suddenly going to have a resurgence in Seattle, just eliminate that thought from your brain. But yeah, so I don't see that as an obstacle. But yeah, unfortunately, really, unless one of Metcalf or Lockett gets hurt, the upside on Eskridge is low, but it is what it is.
Pump the Jams comes in, and that was that 90s? Was that like late 90s? That like that type of, it reminds me of that style of music.
Why are we asking me? I was born in 1995.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer to that question.
Traded the 203 and TJ Hawkinson for Mike Gesicki and 108 in a 12-man super flex.
No. No, keep Hawkinson.
I say pump the brakes on this trade.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think so. With Hawkinson, with what they did to their receiving core, oh boy, I guess, now that I think about it, at 108, you could get Travis Etienne probably. And then at the 203, I don't know. At the 203, you're probably getting. So I'm going to like the 108 actually more than Hawkinson now that I think about it. But I'm going to like the 203 probably more than. I don't know.
No, I don't like it.
It's pretty even. It's pretty even.
Yeah.
Well, it's not tight end premium, though. Is it tight end premium? Does it say? Oh, it is tight end. Well, what's the premium?
Just says super flex.
If it's just 1.5, yeah, but it doesn't say how. Oh, half. If it's just 1.5, I'll take the 108. I'll take the 108 in Gesicki.
I don't think at 203 you've seen quite the drop off yet.
Yeah.
108 is going to be a lot more valuable for sure, but
yeah, 108 you're getting Etienne.
I don't expect him to be viable and startable.
Yeah, but 108 you're getting Etienne, and if only there's half point premium. I'd rather have Etienne than Hawkinson.
Yeah, if he's going that late, then yeah, sure.
He is though. You're going to take. Well, then if you don't get Etienne, maybe you get one of the quarterbacks. I'd rather have Zach Wilson than Travis Etienne in Superflex League. That's not a consideration for me. Those two are not close.
I don't know what's going on with this trade. Mike chimes in. Instead of just the 102, like, is he listening to us and decided to go add in more value instead of the 102? Now he has to also give Joe Mixon and Adam Troutman.
No. I'm not doing that. No. I don't want to do that. I'll take now I want the Mixon side. I'm not giving up 2 high profile assets for one. I'm so low on Pittman though, that's why I don't want to do it. I'll take the Mixon side.
I think Mixon's value is low enough now that like he might be a little bit of a buy, but like if he genuinely gets an opportunity this year, like he's way better than anything else you're getting in this trade, right? He's not the guy that, like you said, you put Pittman in the 4th on the other side, then great. But adding Mixon and Troutman, no, that's not.
Mixon is one of those players that's literally never moved because I never see anyone who's like, I'm just like okay with Joe Mixon. You either like, at this point, you're either no more Mixon for me. Mixon has hurt me one too many times. I'm done. Or all in. The opportunity is there. They didn't draft anyone else. Joe Burrow, big offense. I'm in. Mixon's like never moved. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
He's one of those players that's like never moved. And in this case, I would take the Mixon side.
Jerry has a 2-part question for us. He has the 104 and 108 in his rookie 1 quarterback draft. Who's he taking? Etienne or Williams, Elijah Moore or Bateman? I think we know what you're going to say.
Well, you're not taking. At 104, I don't think Etienne's going to be there for you.
One quarterback, right? Yeah, I'm not sure either.
No, in a non-tight end, for me, I've come around on my rookie rankings, and now I have it for one QB non-premium. I have Chase, Harris, Etienne, Pitts. So if it starts off with the three that I said, I would go Pitts. If Pitts goes first, then Etienne at 104. Those are going to be the Chase and Harris are going to go 101 and 102 in most leagues. I think even in non-premium, I mean, I have Chase and Harris ahead of Pitts even in premium, but I just, the way I value tight end, I'm writing a Kyle Pitts article right now. It's going to come out soon. And that's what I said in the article, but you'll be able to read that soon enough. But yes, at the 104, I'm looking at Etienne or Pitts. And then the 108, I'll assume that Chase, Harris, Etienne, Pitts, and Javonte. I mean, in most drafts, the top 7 are going to go Chase, Harris, Etienne, Pitts, Javonte Williams, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. It's going to be those 7.
Yeah.
So then at 108, you're, I mean, my current 108 is Trevor Lawrence. So that's what I would do. If you just, okay, let's talk about the way I do rookie ranks. The way I do rookie ranks is I rank for a startup and then back rank them into rookie ranks. That's the smart way to do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. Because then you're ranking them where their values are, not the values in a bizarre landscape of a rookie draft, because you're not going to be in the rookie draft after the rookie draft is over. You want to value them as you would value them in a startup moving forward. So trade value wise. So that's just how it worked out. The way where I rank Lawrence among quarterbacks and where I rank the receivers among receivers just worked out that Lawrence was the 108. And that's what I would do. That's my answer to the question.
Man, I have a hard time passing up on some of those guys in a 1 QB league.
Yeah, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, even if you'd have a hard time doing it.
Because to me, there's enough running backs and wide receivers that would still be available that I feel like I would rather have, and then have a chance of still getting a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or somebody like that later.
You're thinking about it wrong. That's the problem. You're thinking about it wrong. You're thinking about it in terms of the rookie draft, but you should be thinking about is the whole picture and what you would do in a startup draft in general in terms of value. That's how you should be thinking about it. So that's why it's ranked that way. I understand it. Many people say what you just said, but I have to push back on that because you want to take the most value based on where they're going to go in a startup draft, and that's just where I have them ranked, and I got to stick to that. So I push back on that whenever people say that. I just won't agree. There are people who tell me that you shouldn't take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds of a rookie draft. I tell them that they're absolutely insane.
I wouldn't
wrong.
say that I have a hard and fast rule on that, but I don't know that if I knew that I could still wind up with Fields or Lance, to me, I don't know. There's a huge difference.
Draft for value, trade for need. Always draft for value, trade for need. I don't want to hear about, if I could end up with Fields. That if you've already made a mistake, if that's your thinking, you've already made a mistake. You should be drafting for value. If you're talking about I could get this later, then you've already made a mistake. You're already not coming in with the right strategy. You should be taking each pick based on its own value. It should not matter what is coming later. You should think about the value of everything, not just the value of the rookie pool. That's the thing. So that's why, and a lot of people make this mistake, and it's why I often rail on this whenever I'm on the mic or on Twitter. You take value, and that's not value in a rookie draft. That's value after the draft is over. Who has more trade value in a startup? And that's how you rank your rookies. As weird as that sounds, that's the right way to do it.
See, I'd rather have Waddle.
But that's separate. Like if you just rather have, that's fine. Like but then when you publish your startup rankings, Waddle should be ahead of Lawrence. What's not relevant is
in a 1 QB league. Yes.
Yeah. So that's fine. What's not relevant is, I can get Fields later. So that is irrelevant to the conversation. It's just, you take the players based on startup value. So if you rank Waddle, I mean, we're not talking about Waddle. I had Waddle ahead of Lawrence. We're talking about Lawrence versus.
At the 108. He's looking at the
108. Waddle's my 107. So we come to compare Lawrence versus Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore for me, and I have Lawrence ahead of those guys. So, like,
fair enough.
Yeah, it's just, it shouldn't be about comparing Lawrence to Fields. That's not what we're talking about. It should be where you rank Lawrence in a startup versus the other players. So if you rank Lawrence, if your startup rankings say Trevor Lawrence is behind Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Trey Sermon, if that's what they say, then you should take those players out of them.
So you do not then adhere to a tier strategy.
I don't understand. I adhere to a tier strategy overall, like in startup, like in everything, but I don't. This is why I don't make rookie tiers. Rookie tiers are stupid. Like people say, "Oh, make rookie tiers." Why? Why?
But in a startup, that would be you're comparing the rookie and the startup as well. So
what you should care about is where I rank the rookies compared to veterans, because a lot of the time you're trading veterans for rookies. It doesn't matter where I have the rookies tiered. You don't. People. This is my big argument with all of this: is people, when they're in a rookie draft, forget that the rest of the players still exist. The rest of the players didn't go away just because you can only pick rookies in the rookie draft. You have to consider all of your options. Sometimes you can trade in with veterans. Sometimes you can trade out of picks for veterans. People don't think of these things. People don't do that during the rookie draft. I noticed they don't do that. They get locked in on their thinking. That's why I'm pushing back against this so hard, because it's really, really damaging to people in Dynasty. They get locked in on the rookie draft and they don't focus on the veterans available in the pool and how they can make moves with those players to further their overall Dynasty portfolio. And instead they just focus on like rookie tiers, but that's not really important. What's really important is how you manage the rookies versus the full pool of players. So that's the only reason I push back on it so hard, because it's so, you just have so many more options if you think of it that way.
Yeah. I still think it's fair to take into consideration what an end of a tier versus
we're never going to agree.
Plenty of people in a tier still. So I think it's fair to think that way.
I don't think we'll never agree, but I just think it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like, you want the more valuable player. I think that's what the people should hear, is that you want the more valuable player. So I think what you're really saying, and you're just saying it differently, is that you don't value you don't value having a higher end quarterback as much in a 1 QB league, maybe, as I do. I think that's actually what you're saying.
I am saying that for sure. I'm also partially saying, like, I'm just not sure that I would care to invest in somebody who I think probably has a similar value as other people that, like, I just, if I've got, I want to way it's getting close to the tier end of those really good wide receivers to me.
Yeah. I also think a lot of what you're saying is that you don't see maybe you don't see Trevor Lawrence as special as I do. I think that's another thing that's probably different between you and me, is that I see Trevor Lawrence as generational and a difference maker, and you probably don't. Like, that's all I'm saying, is, like, I think that we're disagreeing, but I just think that what you're really saying is not what you're saying. Does that make sense? Like, it's not really because you don't like Trevor Lawrence versus Fields. It's also because you don't like Trevor Lawrence more than veteran any quarterback in that range. Like, it's not like focusing on Fields specifically.
From a fantasy perspective, yes.
Yes. From a fantasy perspective, you don't see Lawrence as the same edge that I do.
Is that
a fair statement?
Yes.
So that's the only reason I push back on comparing Lawrence to Fields specifically. It's more, I think we have a disagreement on how we compare Lawrence to the pool of quarterbacks. I think that's more where we're disagreeing.
Sure.
I just wanted to make that clear, because it's important that people remember that you have a full pool of players to make moves, and you should consider that during the rookie draft. Just focus on everything. You never know. Get creative and work hard. That's what I tell people to do.
And those late round picks can ultimately, a lot of times, if you're active and you're shopping and you've identified some people, that are veterans that you think are being undervalued right now, you could potentially trade some of those late round picks that are, instead of investing in, well, you would say, Amon-Ra or Tutu Atwell,
trade them for veterans. Yeah. That's exactly what I would do.
Yep.
And the other thing is, if I know that people are thinking like you and they're not going to take Trevor Lawrence at 108, I can probably trade back to 111 and still get him. So that's another thing you can do if you feel the same way that I do. And, you want to accumulate extra value on top of it. So now that's another tip.
Well, I think we have just about exhausted the topic of the amount of questions coming in. We appreciate all of them. Yeah, I am very excited that we got a bunch of those questions in and created some good conversation.
We got another donation too.
Huh?
We totally forgot about that. Another donation.
And Mike, hey, look, I don't know where this is going.
Neither do I. This is something we have no idea. Like, just like full transparency, we have no clue where these donations go. We hope that they go to DLF. That would be nice.
Yeah,
but we will find out.
We're gonna find out.
We will check on that because this is an issue we have to address. 100%.
I didn't even know you could donate on YouTube. I just didn't even know that
last time. Shane did it on the show, or
right.
Did
yeah.
No.
Before that, I had no idea.
His kid did it during the show. His kid donated Shane's money during the show,
which was an amazing moment.
But we should have figured out like what happened to that, and we just forgot. So we'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. I think this was a great, I don't know that everybody's going to agree, but I think you got a lot of very strong opinions here. And I think a lot of great arguments. And I think it's, if nothing else, you've got to consider these landing spots and some of them that we think are good, but we got to take into other considerations. And I think this helps people to kind of dissect your brain a little bit and figure out.
Let me leave the people with one thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to me.
No.
Like, this is just my opinion. Like, I come on here and talk because I think, I have opinions. I do a lot of research, but they're your teams, not mine. They're your dynasty teams. There's an article that's coming out for me tomorrow about how to handle your rookie drafts. And the last section is going to talk about, I'll spoil a little bit of it for you. The last section is going to talk about, these are your dynasty teams. They're not mine. They're not Cal's. If you want to take whatever player you want to take them. Maybe I'll disagree with it, but if it made you happy, if that's what you wanted to do, and that makes fantasy more fun for you, more power to you. It doesn't matter what I think. As long as you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself and, it's a positive experience for you, who cares what I think or what Cal thinks or what anyone thinks? It's your team. So at the end of the day, just remember that when you're making your picks.
We have some amazing things coming up. If you're watching this right now and you are not currently subscribed to the YouTube channel, right down below, hit the subscribe button, click on those notifications so you make sure that every time Addison or myself or somebody else here in the YouTube Dynasty League football family goes live. Make sure you do that. Also, any comments that you want to put down below, if you disagree with us, you like us, you want to put your own ratings for any of those landing spots, feel free to do so. Also, dynastyleaguefootball.com, make sure you're subscribed there because you're going to have, as we talked about over and over again, you're going to have great tools, there are tremendous value to being a part of Dynasty League Football. Use the forums, as Tyler said. Make sure you are doing that.
That's the one piece of value that no one ever uses. No, it's like 2 questions a day. I mean, come on. We know how many subscribers there are. We'll answer all of the questions. Why not ask them? You'll get, you could get my opinion. You could get someone else's opinion. You could get multiple opinions. Who knows what you're going to get, but we will answer them. And, in those questions, it's not like this stream. Your league mates can't see that forum. Only subscribers get to see it. So it's like a little secret.
That's right.
So it can be an edge over your league mates that you might be able to get. So I never see anyone use it, and we've been trying to push it lately, and we hope to see more of your questions in there.
Let's do it. Tyler, anything else you want to plug?
No, follow Cal on Twitter. We could reiterate all of the great DLF stuff, articles, tools, ADP. It's all there. Please subscribe to DLF. You won't regret it. I promise. And I have a podcast. It's on my Twitter, but you can find it there. My articles are there. Just, where to find me. Ask me questions, on Twitter. If you didn't get your question in, just at me. Yeah.
Appreciate the shout out here. P2W.
Thank
Love the
you.
hustle. Same to you. He's hustling a bunch too.
He is a hustler.
Absolutely.
He really works his ass off. And
Yep.
I don't know if I can say that, but I just did. He really works really hard to bring his content to the people. He is a great person. I got, was lucky to collaborate with him a couple times here and there, just talk to him. So I really appreciate that. And thank you for that. It means a lot to us. It really does. We love hearing things like that. It keeps us going.
Yep. Make sure you're following him on Twitter.
Yes. At P2 Fantasy. Put it back
P2,
up.
Yep, that's right. Make sure you're following Tyler. Follow Dynasty Football at DL Football. Follow me at Calvin and Hobby. Got a lot of great content, a lot of ideas coming out for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. And with that, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you